Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's ESEA advanced match between Team Verum and Absolute Leverage. I'm joined by my good buddy Upmine. How's it going, man?
What's up? What's up? We are currently vibing out today. Team Verum coming into today with a 2-3 record. Same thing with their opponents and Absolute Leverage. So if anything, this is really going to be a game to see where these two really solidify themselves in terms of the wider spectrum of the ESEA Advanced this season. I'm very much excited to see what goes down today.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an extremely interesting match and a pretty decisive match because Verum, of course, coming in here after a 3-map losing streak versus Pain, Front, and Valkyrie, respectively. And Absolute Leverage coming in here with the same record, but a pretty recent win over Conflicted, and then a 16-5 loss against Fiji's Bag Chasers. So both of these teams do have something to prove in the league to try and at least get, something good on their record before moving further into the season. We're going to start off this map on Nuke.
Yes, sir. We're starting off on Nuke today. Pretty decent map for the boys of Verum from what we've seen in the past, but it's really going to come down to how solid is their CT side a little bit later on. Something that they definitely struggled a little bit against Pain Gaming. But as the action does go down, Jonesy getting spotted out over towards ladder. He is getting wrapped around, but Absolute Leverage, they're taking a lot of control right now. If anything, it's just going to be making space for Absolute Leverage as the round goes down. And Team Verum, they're kind of discombobulated at the moment. They have none of this information.
Yeah, speaking of space, we have two members of Absolute Leverage going to push up onto Verum and kind of dismantle their entire position here. Ajax is the last one standing behind this on this B site, and he's trying to keep Leverage from pushing in, trying to buy as much time as possible for his teammates. But hey, Mills comes in, he gets the shot off, and we're in a 3v3. Bomb is down, though. Prex, though, going to take out Mirth before he has the chance to even think about getting into the site. Two players left from Verum. They're going to try and push on from above here. We see Mills and Ajax, but this could be bad because he does not realize Prex is here, and Prex does get distracted by the man above, but still a fantastic flick, and that leaves Mills all on his lonesome, and I think he's just going to save it.
Yep, saving. He's got a kit and light armor. Definitely going to help out his team going forward. But yeah, no, just well done from Absolute Leverage. We've seen a lot of teams this season for ESEA Advanced go for some curveballs in terms of their pistol round strats. With Nuke, at least, you're not exactly going to be in full view of the outside area. In Absolute Leverage, they took full advantage of it. Nobody watching that contact. Instead, they wanted to take up as much early control as possible to really make this map theirs and leave Team Verum really just searching themselves for the kills, kind of getting desperate in a sense.
Pushing in here on this second round, but we do see a couple of rifles in the buy from Absolute Leverage. So this scout on Mills could do something big if he does manage to take some of this firepower away from the opponents, but it's definitely going to be a very tough round in this force-up. Mills, though, going to take one of the opponents out, and we see Prex up on top of the water tower, going to try and get a first frag, but he's not able to find it. The player from Verum is just going to retreat back, not take that fight, which I can see exactly why. But Stamina, very dangerous here.
Yep, Stamina had a big spot over towards Mini. Not only that, but it was a double. But you got to pay attention over towards Aegis at the moment. He has all of this information. He was sitting up on top of, or right behind of Squeaky. Here's all of the players going down over towards the vent side. So if anything, Absolute Leverage, it's one less step to really take on, as now they have a little bit more control. Stamina emerges. Aegis is here to try to help out Mirth. Oh boy, Mirth is ready to pop off. What an area for him. Gonna be able to get one. Still Jonesy coming around the corner, trying to help out. Not gonna be able to get anything, but there's still one over towards the hot area. Prex
not anymore.
Mirth
not anymore. Prex
not anymore. Huge.
Prex gonna take out Ajax and then immediately flick on to the man up above. Going to finish out the round. We've got a quick and easy 2-0 lead from Absolute Leverage, not giving Verum a chance in the slightest to even, put a point on the board during the pistol or the force up. But now, we're going to see a bit of an evening up of firepower. Maybe not, actually. It looks like Verum has elected to save here instead of going for at least even a half buy in this third round.
Yeah, so to this extent, no way you go for a half buy here. Team Verum, they had already invested a whole lot into that last round. And really overall, they've been trying to force up upgraded pistols. So Team Verum at 2K, there is zero way that they could end up buying. So not exactly a surprise to see them back on the P250. Also, big surprise, last, do you have music on?
Do I?
Do you have music on for Counter-Strike?
I might. Did I not? I thought I turned it off. Well, let's go into audio real quick. Music, go away. I swear I turned that off. That is kind of disgusting.
No, that's hey, it's a rookie mistake, Mr. Last, but that's okay. That's okay. But aren't you a producer also outside of this?
Not mainly for CS, but that is a little bit disappointing in myself. But while I was getting that that little fix done, we did see Absolute Leverage take the third round, which, you know, to be expected in a save versus rifles. Not anything too revolutionary. We weren't expecting Verum to come in with the hero plays. Weren't expecting Absolute Leverage to drop that, and, you know, standard.
No, very standard. Now going into this round, you have the full buy coming in. Team Verum with all the util that they could want, essentially. Outside of Ajax with only a molly and a nade. Really, this is about the same start that we ended up seeing from Team Verum against Pain Gaming, and that's, again, that's a whole different story. Pain Gaming is almost literally in a whole different league when you talk about advanced. But Absolute Leverage, what an approach. They actually just want to keep holding W down Huts, and the new man in town, Stamina, gonna be able to get 4. What a guy. Age is now the last person remaining with 11 HP, and you got to give it up to the util damage early on. Absolute Leverage had no chance making their way through Hut. Early molly, early nades over towards Squeaky, and they were grinded through. Stamina being on this team is so important because Team Verum, to me, they were a lot of these players, they didn't have too much experience going into this season, especially when you're talking about advanced or MDL or anything of the sort. Stamina has that. He was in MDL just a couple of seasons ago, but if anything, he's been very much absent from the semi-professional scene for 2 whole seasons. But now he's back with Team Verum, and it seems as if he's just been signed. So this is a great change for the team. Some veteran leadership. But Absolute Leverage, they don't exactly have that name value to me just yet, but they're still putting up a pretty good fight. It's a big round for them as their economy could get broken apart last.
Yeah, T-side on Nuke, it's not anything that we haven't seen before across ESEA or just a PUG server, really. This has been a pretty standard opening for Absolute Leverage, but that 4th round from Verum is doing, you know, it is setting them up to do some work. Like you mentioned, this eco could be in trouble for Absolute Leverage. All teams have elected for the full buy, and we do see Mills with the big old sniper rifle. Prex, though, up on top here with trucking out a whole lot of utility, though, trying to hold Stamina down here with that molly, but he is going to be able to push up and still get a fantastic headshot, and that's going to secure a very, very early man advantage for Team Verum.
Yeah, good early advantage, but Absolute Leverage, they still haven't made too many moves, in a sense. That was just one piece of control that they wanted to not only control the secret area, but they just wanted more outside contact in general. Still with the rest of Absolute Leverage, again, it's almost a far cry from what we saw from the pistol round. They haven't made any space. They haven't been able to really get any information. So now they're essentially going in dry. Good flashbang in, though, but Ajax is fully ready over in Scaffold. Going to be able to get 2. One last person remaining, and Zacher. But Mills with a frag onto the last person remaining. Team Verum with 2 rounds in a row. Absolute Leverage at just about 3K to 4K. This is where you would expect a little bit of a half buy, but with their loss bonus being at just 2, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a force.
It looks like you are going to be proven correct on everyone but Aegis. We are going to see
He's still forced.
He still did. Yeah, he still did buy utility. But we are going to see 4 rifles come out versus the almost fully intact buy from the previous round on Verum, because, you know, none of them died. Going into this next round, we see Stamina trying to go for the same early pick as before, but no one's gonna fall for it this time. No wallbang. I was waiting with bated breath to see if that wallbang was going to secure an early kill, but no. We did see quite a bit of damage done by that Molotov.
Right. No, just well done. They know that at least one person likes to stay around that vent area, and even then, just that.
Ooh, Jonesy could be pushing up, and he is going to take out Zacher. That is a huge early pick, especially going into this round that could tie this up. Aegis is going to take out Jonesy, though, pushing out from underneath, and he did see the second player up on the scaffolding, so let's see if he can capitalize on it, or if Mills is just going to go absolutely nuts with the op.
Yeah, let's go back to that kill, because Mills, he was looking over towards the ramp drop more than anything, now that B was at least a little bit more under control. But just Mills staying that conservative in that position, looking for not only a cross down, but also absolute leverage, just trying to bail themselves out of that position. Again, Team Verum, they had all of their situations covered. Usually, early in these rounds, you haven't really seen anyone playing around that B site. It was a very fast rotation. It was very much anticipated, and absolute leverage. They just ran essentially into the jaws of the beast. With that force buy, they're left on a reset. They upgrade their pistols, but now Team Verum, they can finally vibe out as they tie the scoreline.
Speaking of tying the scoreline, though, or at least looking to prevent that from prevent that number on Verum's side from going any higher up. I'm sorry, we just completely missed a shot from Mills, and I was wondering how that happened. Jonesy, though, going to push up around with his rifle and take out Tactile. Good headshot there, and once again, going into this round with a man advantage is huge for Verum, because it seems that they're doing a really good job of securing these sites when leverage can't just push them and steamroll them.
Yes, absolutely. So Team Verum, what they've been doing at this point is not trying to create their own space. Essentially, with Nuke CT side, the only thing that you have to do is just maintain your own line. It's very much different from different maps. Pretend like you're talking about an Inferno, where you do want to get at least a little bit of banana control, or you do want apartments control. That could be lost in a second. Absolute leverage, however, was how much space there actually is on this map, and really with how many lanes that they can take. Team Verum, the best thing that they can do is essentially just watch crosses, and it's big. Jonesy, big eye. He ended up having a lot of information early on just from Zacher making some footsteps down into the basement area, and ended up getting himself a kill from Secret. So, again, Team Verum is very done and dusted. Not too much to really focus on just yet, but this round should really be an indication of how the rest of this half should go.
Yeah, it's been a very good retake. And I'm not talking about a retake as in, you know, your opponent's just planted the bomb and you got to take site back over. I'm talking about retaking the scoreboard. Absolute Leverage had a really good start. They started off playing really well in the pistol rounds, and they were doing a fantastic job of, like you mentioned, controlling space. But as soon as Team Verum started to, you know, get their feet underneath them, get to start playing their angles the way they wanted to with the guns that they wanted to, that's when things started taking the turn for the worst if you're a Leverage fan. But doing a fantastic job of just holding exactly where they want to be. Like, for example, Jonesy here, seeing that Tactile, knowing that Tactile is going to be wanting to push through this smoke as soon as it disperses. And it's going to be painful if Absolute Leverage makes the choice to push, and they do. They throw out a molly, but they don't throw the molly in the right place. Jonesy's going to take one. Ajax is going to take one. Mills is going to take one. So is Stamina, and the kill parade just comes through and repeats itself until all of the Leverage players are dead.
So that was huge from Team Verum. I mean, what I talked about earlier, you can throw that in the trash. What Team Verum ended up doing was kind of a gamble stack. 4-person readied up on site. Yes, they still had Mills pivoting around the outside area, getting that information. Mills didn't end up seeing anything. No util outside, nothing of the sort. Everyone from Team Verum just had their angles. They had double coverage of Hut. They had double coverage of Squeaky, and just like that, this round could just be taken out. But now Team Verum, oh my!
Ooh, okay.
Oh my lord! They had Mirth in a cheeky spot. Mills holding back over towards ladder, but God, this Absolute Leverage squad, just with the pistols, they overwhelm so easily. Jonesy, however, his position has not been known at all. Gonna be able to get one. Not only that, but with the bomb going down, Jonesy has that info. Jonesy needs a third here, and he will, and Ajax gets one back. 1v1, and Ajax gets the second. I don't know if we were able to see that on the camera, but Ajax goes big. Hard attack for Team Verum, but Absolute Leverage, they showed some real flair that round.
Can we talk for like 2 seconds about those deagle kills from Absolute Leverage. That was
huge.
Absolutely nuts. Absolutely huge. Just pushing into the site with nothing but a deagle and some dreams and taking out not one but 2 of Verum's players. The only thing that saved Verum that round was Jonesy being in a completely unexpected position, pushing out with that rifle and kind of just wiping the squad. Had Jonesy been found out just a split second earlier, or if he had, missed one of those spray transfers and not gotten 3 whole kills, that would have been a completely different story.
Had he been anywhere else, that's the thing, right? So Jonesy, there's almost no way that you would expect a guy in that position, especially with a double ramp coverage. Jonesy had to be there at the perfect time and really had to anticipate that B push in a sense. So, God, I don't know how he did it. We didn't exactly see the pathing that he took in the round, but hey, whatever happened, Jonesy, right place, right time. Early on in this round, though, you have Mirth with a nade down into lobby. Going to be able to get one early on, but with Absolute Leverage playing around with this outside position, there's actually double coverage, which Ajax can try to help out, but Stamina in a big position, going to be able to get one, but Okaz, okay.
Okaz,
nice
taking out 2, yeah. And that twofer is a lot bigger than you would expect, especially in this kind of round, because that removes Jonesy and Stamina from the picture. And those have been Verum's big playmakers across this map so far. So taking those two out of the equation, now they might not be as scared as they would have been to push around corners because, especially,
Ajax?
Oh my goodness, Aegis flicking onto Ajax and getting the kill, basically securing, guaranteeing this round going towards Absolute Leverage. I don't see Mirth even attempting it. He might now.
He could definitely attempt this. 2 players extremely low, 22 HP and 24. There's a couple of bullets.
But
a gust of wind would do it. Absolutely not. He doesn't.
That's the
He's
thing.
taking every corner possible. He's so.
Oh no.
No. Yeah. Going back to that though, Ajax. He had a beautiful position, but the reason why Aegis was able to walk around so much and really clear out his angles is just because Ajax had a really good, I guess you could say, trigger discipline. He was waiting for more players to come out of huts, and by the time that he was forced into the situation against Aegis already had the first shot in. That was just well done. Team Verum now, they end up dropping their first round in 6 rounds. They're 6-1 at the moment. That's an incredible streak. And again, like I mentioned before, their CT side is the thing that has to be the cleanest. They ended up only getting 3 against Pain Gaming.
Pushing in on this smoke is possibly a rush from Absolute Leverage, but they're delaying it quite a bit. They don't know whether or not they want to try and challenge this. They don't know if Verum is going for another one of these cheeky 4 stacks on site, and it looks like they're going to elect, just, pack it up, go somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely not a
Mills,
rush.
Mills, though.
Oh,
Mills
what
gets
a
one.
tight angle from Mills. He's so good.
He's so good with this op, and that is a terrifying thing to be playing against. Auto Director is going to instead decide to focus on Mills instead of the twofer from Jonesy, but Mills is going to take out Zacher here with the op, and it's just going to be Prex all on his lonesome Ajax, going to secure the 7th for Team Verum on this CT side.
These runs are getting very chaotic in a sense for Absolute Leverage. I do like the idea of going for a default that round. They wanted, in a sense, they wanted to make sure that Team Verum wasn't really getting off their line. But what I mentioned before is that Team Verum, they're not exactly going for anything cheeky over towards the back lines. They're not going for any rushes. They're not trying to take more control than they're allowed, in a sense. So Absolute Leverage, they kind of discovered that in that last round. Other than Ajax, though, that's a little bit different. Ajax, he ended up going into hut, but what on earth was that for Mills? Launching a singular shot through the smoke, and he ends up getting a kill onto Okaz. That's just unfortunate. You just hate to see that.
You hate to see it unless your name is Mills, because oh my god, he's looking like Stewie 2K being the smoke criminal. Getting an easy early kill here, and Zacher going to push up in, take out Stamina. We still got even, at least in terms of the men, but not in terms of the firepower here. We got 3 Deagles and an AK. I wonder if Absolute Leverage can make this round work like they did the last time they went for a deagle push. But Zacher pushing up in here could be huge, especially if he catches Jonesy on the rotate, and yes, he does.
Low HP, a whole lot of info, though. What on earth was that? So much noise being made on the ladder. And 2 players on site. None of them, they want to peek this out. Now Ajax over in Hunt going to be able to get the kill back. So Zacher, his information kill is essentially his space control over towards basement. It was essentially all for naught. It was just for a singular frag. It was just to make the round a little bit easier. But I would have expected Absolute Leverage to potentially take advantage of that one. But they had full A control. At least that's what they thought.
Yeah, I find it interesting, again, like you mentioned, no one heard Mills pushing up on there, or if they did, maybe that was just a case of miscommunication, like both players on site thought the other was going to take...
one was planning, the other one had to be the pivot.
That's what I was about to say, like, one was planting, so I don't know why the pivot wasn't ready and waiting, especially with the ridiculous amount of noise, but maybe they were just scared of Mills, man. After he got that smoke kill earlier in the round, would you want to try and fight him?
No, definitely not. Absolute Leverage, they end up nading out the squeaky area. That allows Mills to get himself not only 1 pick, but could get a second. Indeed, he does. Get a third, why not? Prex around the corner, still going to be able to get him. So Ajax with a cross back. A 1v4 situation for the boys of Absolute Leverage. Yeah, there's not really much to talk about in terms of these rounds unless Ajax can really get himself something going, but nothing's gonna happen. So really running down what has happened throughout this half, Team Verum sticking to their guns, sticking to the individual players. So Team Verum, what has really been pivotal for them has been that Mills and Ajax combo. Mills has been very versatile in terms of the positions that he's been playing, but it's mainly been centralized around the A and A rafters position, still holding up towards the outside area and still holding up over towards the inside area if Absolute Leverage end up getting a little bit too much control in a sense. Ajax still being very much potent in terms of his frags, and not only that, but playing very good off angles. This Team Verum team, they've had a lot of options being covered up from the Absolute Leverage squad. They have nothing going for them. And now Stamina. What a position for him. Sitting up in rafters. Sitting up on catwalk over in the B position. With the squeaky doors being opened up, he's able to get himself too. And just like that, it's a 3v4 with Mirth sitting around the ramp area and the fast rotation from the rest of Team Verum already fully underway.
He is going to get the bomb down, but this is a very, very scary sight to be in. Ajax is going to take out Prex, but Tactile is going to get the refrag. That's still... Oh, no. Does he know? He does know. Okaz is going to take out Mills, and he's looking for some more, but Mirth going to push up blinded, and Jonesy going to close out the round. I think we need to take just a split second to acknowledge the fact that Mills has just been the Grim Reaper. With that op in his hands, nothing is safe. You push around a corner, he's there and waiting, and you're just dead.
That's the same thing with literally almost any other player on this team, I would like to believe. Although Mills was really the one to explode in like the last 3-4 rounds, what ended up getting things started was really the rifle play of both Jonesy and Ajax being versatile, at least towards ramp and A site, really hot spots for the Absolute Leverage side. They end up getting choked out there. They end up having no control, no space. But speaking of space, they're trying to make their own space. What on earth is this camera angle? But hey, it is what it is. Ajax able to take down Okaz and Absolute Leverage. That is a surefire sign that they are running out of options. They decide to just rush into huts, and they get nothing for them. Tactile, last person remaining. Mills gets the kill back. And now Team Verum, they snag themselves in the 11th round. I personally can't believe it. Absolute Leverage, they started off really well, but that ended up being just the effect of the pistol round, really just the effect of the economy. When Absolute Leverage ended up going up against the rifles of Team Verum, it was over. It was already over before we knew it. That's not me being like, oh, we're on the Team Verum stream, guys. Let's talk about a lot about Team Verum. This Team Verum squad has struggled so much in the last 2 weeks. I mean, we saw it directly in the game between them and Team Front, and I think it was almost the exact same thing against Pain Gaming, where Team Verum, they would get themselves a little bit of momentum into the round. They tried to stick to their guns, but a team that might be a little bit more, I guess you could say, proactive in terms of utility, especially on the A site, would be able to pick apart Team Verum's defense. But we simply did not see that in the first half. Instead, we saw absolute leverage almost dry peeking most of the areas that they actually wanted to clear up. It was kind of unfortunate in a sense, but well, here we are. It's 11-4. Absolute leverage. They need to start things off with a pistol round win, or else really things will really start to tumble.
Yeah, an 11-4 half is just about as good as you could ask for as Team Verum, but I think it is very nearly perfect. And I think the biggest thing, and I remember you and I discussing it a little bit before we went on air, is that, hey, both these teams have identical records. They've both been losing to the same kind of teams. They've both been beating the same kind of teams. So going into this could be a very close match. Absolutely not. Verum is coming in here and showing like, hey, we've had some hard times, especially against Pain, especially against Valkyrie, but we're here and we're here to play, and they're making a statement and a half here against absolute leverage. They're gonna, I have no doubt that they're looking for that 16-4 scoreline to close it out. Little nice badge to put on their ESEA pages. Move on into the season with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and the thing with this season being a little bit shorter, it's huge to get these wins in. With the early streak of Team Verum dropping a couple of rounds, dropping a couple of maps, it's very much unfortunate because two of them you would consider to be upsets, which is a little bit weird to say out loud, purely because the game against Valkyrie, it was a game where they ended up trialing a player. And not only that, but their game against Team Front, they didn't seem all too comfortable. Train was not exactly their map. As you were the one that ended up commentating, you were the one that ended up seeing that truly this team still has very much a limited map pool. But at least here on Nuke, a map where they took Pain Gaming as far as a lot of tier 1 teams, or really top tier 2 teams would take them. Team Verum really sticking to their guns is probably the most optimal thing that we could see throughout this season. Really, with the addition of stamina, though, I'm really excited to see how much further that they can develop, especially when we're talking about just scrims outside of the games, and really just adding another pure fragger to the team, because stamina, he's always been that type of pugger in the scene. He's always been a little bit of a prolific figure around FPL, rank S, rank G. So again, I'm just excited to see the kind of a more name brand player in this Team Verum squad, as again, most of these guys were a little bit random in a sense. I'm not going to lie to you. Although yes, they ended up having a lot of stock heading into this season, I still didn't very much anticipate Team Verum going far with the original lineup that they had. This change truly might just be the thing that could kind of change the tides for Team Verum going forward, and this is really the game that would spark things for the squad.
Yeah, for sure. It's very easy to have, five. I don't know where I got the number 4 from. 5 individually very good players and put them together on a team, and then they don't perform well. And that's just because team chemistry, strats, map pool, all of those things are very, very, very important. And when you get,
right.
Obviously, I'm stating the obvious here, but when you add Forehead, yes. When you add a player like Stamina into that equation, even though he's been out for so long, when you add him back into this equation, and when he's here and he's playing like Stamina, you get stuff like this. But this is a weird pistol round.
It certainly is weird. Weird to the extent that Team Verum, they wanted a full squeaky push, and like I mentioned, a lot of advanced teams, they've been going for a little bit more curveballs in a sense off of pistol rounds, and Team Verum with really barely any util to really make their way through.
Mirth, be careful.
They actually try to go through Squeaky right into vents, but doesn't really work out in his favor. Mirth, this is big though. 1v2, 68 HP, no armor, has Prex right behind the smoke. Smoke's about to dissipate, and here we go. Needs this shot, and he gets it. Zacher, last person remaining.
This
now
could be
for the
huge
Absolute
for Verum.
Leverage squad. Misses out on the first burst. Mirth with a headshot gets the goosh. Zacher now down to 2 HP. No way Mirth does it. And he's going to get it with a body shot. There you go. Team Verum. I was about to say, yes, you have 5 individually skilled fraggers, but one person that just simply hasn't shown up in this game thus far is Mirth. And before I even say it, I have to eat my words. This man's still popping off. That was well done.
Yeah, securing that pistol round, moving into the force up. Verum is looking like they want to go to bed. Someone has an 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. They're done.
I do.
I do as well. But they're looking like they want to go home. And speaking of who wants to go home, Jonesy going to start off the round with a twofer, securing yet another 1v2 for Mirth.
That's
Mirth,
huge.
no skin off his back though, going to take his second 1v2 in a row. In what was that, like a 20-second round? What?
Yeah. Absolute Leverage, they ended up wanting to go for a lobby crunch, and it worked out totally in their favor. Team Verum, they were aiming for... I don't know if they were aiming for a full A push or they were just looking for a split default between ramp and A site, but whatever it was, Absolute Leverage, they ended up really crunching down onto it, and that's what lobby crunches are all about. You just want that cheesy round done and dusted. Those rounds are going to last you about 20 to 35 seconds-ish, and really, it was almost unfortunate that Mirth, being the last person remaining, had a Galil, and those 2 players were already lit. Kind of unfortunate. But now, Absolute Leverage, with the amount of cash that they ended up dipping into the last round, it was a full force here last. Now they have to focus up on the upgraded pistols, potentially get some more economic damage, and that's the most important part. Team Verum, they ended up losing out on almost every single piece of firepower that they had into the last round. Any damage that Absolute Leverage does here will help them out extremely in the long run.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with this scoreline in front of us, 13-4. There aren't too many possible rounds ahead if the game keeps going the way that Team Verum has been forcing it to, especially if Absolute Leverage gets caught in this eco trap coming up here. If they lose this round, they've lost quite a bit, and they're not going to be able to buy full rifles going into what could be a possible match point. Tactile, though, going to push out, take out Stamina, and flick onto Mills. What a shot! And just like that, for the 3rd round in a row, despite a very strong opening, we're seeing a 1v2.
Whoa, they just mollied themselves off. This could be a chance for Jonesy to just slickly take up this bomb, but instead, Absolute Leverage is just waiting for information. That's a big swing from Tactile.
Yeah,
the widest swing that you can get.
I think Jonesy definitely suspected that there was at least one player there, but you could see you could see the whole time that he was very afraid that there was maybe someone else around a different corner. So when he finally did try and execute that push, the swing just took care of him.
Dude, that was an eco from the boys of Absolute Leverage. I have nothing else to say other than that.
Other than that was an eco.
They ended up losing up so much space, so they had control of ramp. If anything, they were a little bit too... they were more than aware in a sense of the fact that Absolute Leverage could be down in the B sites, still very much in control. Same thing with the outside area, or more or less over towards ladder. But Team Verum, they have the firepower. I don't think they really needed to worry about that. They ended up getting a little bit too conservative, a little bit too in their heads in a sense, wanting to go back over towards the A site into lobby, but that just ended up putting them in a rough position in a sense in terms of close-up interactions. So now Team Verum, they find themselves in almost the exact same situation as Absolute Leverage in the last round, but instead here last, it is a force buy. They have a lot of util, only the essential util essentially, but with Deagles galore, they're looking to really boot on the same damage to Absolute Leverage.
Zacher here throwing out a flash. I think he definitely knows that at least one person is trying to push this angle, but I find this site composition extremely interesting from Absolute Leverage. They've got quite a few people stacked up on the outside of the bomb site, and I don't know if it's going to work out. If Verum decides that they just kind of want to rush in, they could get caught with their pants down.
So let me spit some facts here. So, no, actually.
All right.
So what Absolute Leverage is doing right now, they're covering up lanes rather than actually really going for the initial interactions. They're wasting so much time right now with Aegis down over towards the bottom B site. Yes, of course, he's not on the B site itself, but he's watching the initial choke point. Tactiles and Mini. He's not watching the crossover. Instead, he's just watching the entrance into Mini. This is just a well-done positioning. This is just well-done positioning from the boys of Absolute Leverage. Maybe not that nade from
Maybe
Team
not
Verum,
that nade.
Yeah.
That one's going to hurt.
Still snagging up too, but that's a bomb plant. That's huge for the cash going forward. 3v3 now last.
Going into this 3v3, I think that grenade could be more impactful than we at first start to think. Sure, bad nade, but hey, Mills is less than half health, and they're about to be pushing onto site with rifles. So Mills,
huge for Mirth.
Mirth though is going to prevent Aegis from pushing in on the pincer. That's going to leave Okaz all on his lonesome up in heaven, but he does not care.
That's huge from Okaz. Really, the two players remaining over towards heaven. They were just looking for really any angle that they could peek on. Team Verum, they allowed that. Really big thing coming in from, who was it? Gosh, I think it was Mirth. Back over towards the squeaky area. Once he got that pick in Mini, he could have done so many other things. Yes, he had the AK. Yes, he had the pick power. But Okaz, he has been such a prolific opper thus far. Almost on the same level as Mills, I would actually like to say here on the CT side, where he's being very proactive. He's being very mobile in a sense. And especially off that retake, Team Verum, they ended up taking on what was the full brunt of that. So now Team Verum down to the pistols, and if I'm not mistaken, my man Oceans in the GoTV chat saying that Okaz is sexy. Indeed he is. He's tall and handsome.
I definitely could agree with that. But, oh no! TK coming out, but it's not going to matter, dude. That's a quick and easy round for Leverage. Not even much to say on it. Verum was stuck with pistols. Absolute Leverage was not. And that's how those rounds usually go. Quick and easy save. Now we are going to see the rifles purchased by Team Verum. Going to try and recoup some of these losses that they've suffered the last few rounds. This has been 3 straight rounds for Absolute Leverage on this CT side, and they're looking to make it 4.
Yes, sir, they are. Absolutely. But
oh no,
the big thing with Team Verum again. They have all the util, they have all the firepower, but certainly not the positioning. That's huge from Leverage. I mean, it's a total far cry from what we saw from Team Verum in the fact that they wanted to stay more conservative, that they wanted to stay in their own lane. They end up taking ramp position, but there you go. Aegis back in garage, gonna be able to get 2. And just like that, the round should just be essentially over. Stamina now in a 1v4, and he wide peeks right into Prex, where he actually takes him down to 1 HP. But that's a massive win for Absolute Leverage going forward, where they put back Team Verum to pistols, if I'm not mistaken, for the 3rd or 4th time already in this half.
Yeah, they're going to be stuck with a severe lack in firepower here, and that's scary. Because every single round that they lose is just up. It's probably going to be another. It's going to just get them stuck in this eco trap of pistol force by pistol force by pistol force by. And when you're not winning any of these force buys, you just fall further into the trap, further into the depths of going down despite a big advantage on the scoreboard. Jonesy, though, on top of... Oh, and he is going to get that despite a little bit of a late flick. That was scary. You saw Jonesy kind of recognize the player chilling out below him, looked away, and then went, wait, that's an enemy. I gotta shoot him.
Indeed, the most awkward of scenarios early on, but Team Verum, they're eventually going to group up their efforts while they're already down in terms of HP over towards the A area. It's as easy as you can get for the boys of Absolute Leverage. Now it's a 1-on-4 for Mills, who's down to 2 HP, has a Deeg, and he's done for.
Mills just playing Ring Around the Rosie versus that op on Okaz, man.
Yeah, that's really all you can do in that situation. But Team Verum, in that round, really more optimally, they were looking for a couple of frags to take away these rifles because they've still been doing a whole lot of damage in these rounds. Although they're not winning, they're taking away the rifles. They're forcing their opponents to reinvest. And that ends up stacking on a lot into the later rounds, or really whenever Team Verum ends up getting the rifles back. But we didn't end up seeing that dynamic at all. Instead, now absolute leverage. They're going for the same ramp push. The same exact one. Double ramp push, walking onto lobby. And Team Verum, they did a good job early on in trying to manage the lobby crunch. But instead, now it's a totally different scenario. Team Verum now left with only 2 players in a 2-on-5. Now make it a 2-on-4. As now Jonesy. That's actually very lucky for the boys at Team Verum that they ended up leaving the bomb really back over towards back lane of lobby. So instead of actually, you know, placing it onto the outside where absolute leverage has full coverage, instead now he does have a lane back with a whole minute left. So there's a little bit of time to work with last, and Stamina's making a whole lot of space. This is massive.
If Stamina does manage to get into this site like he's looking to, he could take out Okaz here, and he is going to knock down Okaz. This position at the top of site is going to be critical, but we're
there it is.
Okay, there it is.
I was about to say, he fully saw Aegis a little bit early on too, but that's actually another big frag coming in from Jonesy. No way. They just run into Zacher.
What?
No way.
They had the site. It was
everything.
They had the site, they had the man advantage, they had the positioning, they had the bomb too. I don't know why they did that. I can't think of any logical reason why both of them would push Zacher there. And Zacher's just gonna, you know, dust off his shoulder and go, yeah, that's right.
Dude, what on earth just happened?
Team Verum lost the round.
Yes, Team Verum did lose the round. Indeed.
In a round that they definitely should not have lost by all intents and purposes. I could have seen Zacher, you know, making a big play, pushing out, and getting the kills, getting the defuse once bomb went down, but they just handed that on a silver platter to him.
Absolutely. They had no information on where Zacher was. And we saw this, I think it was Team Verum with full ramp control, where, God, I mean, they had everything. They had a site. They had a lane.
Stamina had a beautiful play up top to take out Okaz, and then dropped down and took out Aegis. Everything was in Team Verum's favor, and then they just tossed it all in the vents.
Yes, sir. So, well, at this point, gotta move on, as the team is already doing so. They had a timeout to really discuss what's going on, but what on... Okay, so let's talk about it. We have Aegis straight beaming through the smoke, taking out a player over on a cross, again, completely through smoke. Then you have Okaz, double kill over in Squeaky Door. What on earth is going on at the moment? Absolute leverage. They're getting these kills out of literally thin air, and Team Verum, they're taking on the full brunt of the damage. Not a singular kill, not a singular reinvestment from absolute leverage going into the next round. Instead, now Team Verum need to go back into the pistols. This is literally just the worst case scenario for this team. Everything is breaking apart.
And I just have to take a moment to commend the CT side from Absolute Leverage. Sorry, they're playing like Absolute Legends. No,
they actually are.
This CT side from them is literally perfect so far. There have been so few mistakes, and every time that Verum makes one of those, you know, little blunders, not little, but blunders like throwing away 2 players when they should have had the round, it's just, hey, we'll take that, and then we'll take a little bit more, and then we'll take a little bit more, and then we'll take a little bit more, and it's looking like, despite, what was it, an 11-4 half? It's 11-13 now. That is not something that should be happening if you're if you're Team Verum.
Okay, but let's slow things down though. Team Verum, yes, they end up taking up site, and not only that, but a massive battle in huts.
Looking to hold on to this advantage.
Eco. They still got armor, but again, hold on to your seats, folks. This is about to get nuts. Stamina still over towards Squeaky Door, and he
sees him. He sees Okaz through the hole in the door, and Zacher tries to flick over and away, but Stamina says, hey, keep your eyes on me. I'm the threat here. Pushes out through the door, and here we go. Team Verum finally puts another point on the board, and we are at an 11-14 scoreline. They are so close. 1 away from match point, 2 away from closing this out. But can Leverage keep their momentum going even after just that 1 round blundered?
Potentially so, but you got to realize their economy is down in the dumps if they end up losing. Team Verum, I mean, we've seen so many eco rounds. We've seen so many half buys actually work out for some of these teams, so you can't exactly say for sure. But absolute leverage, if they win this one out, it could just be wraps for the boys at Team Verum, or at least the task gets a lot easier. Team Verum, however, let's talk about the round instead. These guys now sitting up a little bit more conservatively, especially over towards the outside area and lobby, really just waiting up for these early contacts. Absolute leverage, they've been going for a couple of pushes into lobby already. If I'm not mistaken, they've had 3 attempts at a lobby crunch already. So if anything, Team Verum staying very slow with just about 1 minute. And absolute leverage, they're not going for the lobby crunch anymore. They're not going for any of those information battles, but instead now, they want the outside control, and they have no idea where Stamina is. Stamina, beautiful position, beautiful off angle, gets one. But more importantly, gotta watch out for Zacher. Zacher sitting up in ramp, waiting up for the approach. One person contacts. Okaz, he tries to get a little bit too risky over in HUD, and it just doesn't work out in his favor. And not only that, but the pre-aim from Ajax is perfect. Takes down Prex, 2v5. Team Verum essentially winning this round out just with the individual interactions, just one by one by one. The dominoes falling down for the absolute leverage squad, and now Aegis and Zacher, they have almost no choice now other than to save.
And I think dominoes are a perfect metaphor for how that round went, because it wasn't just, you know, a huge site take that resulted in 3 kills. No, it was a bunch of individual duels won by individual players across Team Verum, which allowed them to push into site with a huge man advantage and a lot of confidence. Get that bomb down, secure the round. And now, like you mentioned last round, the only thing that could have gone better for Verum is if they had managed to take out Aegis and Zacher, because now they are going to have a little bit of extra money and a couple of guns to reinvest in this. So on this match point, it's not as bad as it could have been for leverage. Still pretty bad. I'm not saying it's great, because, you know, match point against an easy full buy with a whole lot of utility from Verum. But the fact that those 2 players did survive to tell the tale, and survive with their money intact too, means that this buy is going to be better than it could have been.
Yes, sir, Ski. A little bit too risky, but again, nothing to lose. Just gotta pull out whatever money that they have actually left over. But again, with the double save at the end of things, definitely does help out their team going forward with the redistribution of cash. But gotta watch out for these early positions. Mirth, that's a massive early battle that he was forced to take on. Could have easily been a second person back over towards ramp 2. That's probably the most risky part that us as observers we've noticed. Double push ramp, and no way. Okaz actually does spot Stamina. Why was Stamina jumping there, honestly?
It's a good question. But speaking of getting spotted out, Ajax going to get caught looking the wrong way. We're going to see that frag there to even up the player count for both teams. But the biggest thing here is that after taking that early fight, Mirth has 4 health. That's going to make taking a site and holding a site very difficult. Especially if Stamina can't get this push. Oh. But can he? He saw him. He saw him.
Sure. Definitely saw him. But again, Mirth is actually going to be a little bit more important than you would think going forward. He's going to be the first contact. Really, no matter what. The rest of his team with almost the full HP, they're going to be going for what would be literally just baiting this man out. But with 20 seconds left, this team has no space made. He has nothing done, but in we go. Mirth, he drops down, and he's the one to get the first contact, like I mentioned. 10 seconds left. One person over towards Huts, and just like that, the round is over. Prex going to be able to take down Mills. So, let's run that one down. Team Verum. Conservative off the boot. They ended up getting almost no space, and even the space that they ended up getting, that was fully known by absolute leverage. They had nobody down to that B area. Very slow. Very slow. They had nobody down over towards the B area looking out over towards Stamina, but that's purely because they knew that there was only one player there. That smoke had pretty much dissipated by the time that Stamina really made his way through. And not only that, but absolute leverage, just holding on to their guns, holding on to their spots. Team Verum, they had to make one final desperate push on A, which could have definitely worked, but...
Except for Tactile chilling there, ready to be a brick wall in their way.
Yes, exactly. This guy Tactile has been so annoying thus far this game, and I like this dynamic. Team Verum again, very slow. Let's see if they're actually setting up any util. No, they're not. No, they're not. So this is really just an early default.
Jonesy going to throw a Molotov down, and
Stamina. Oh, this is massive. Fake util over in the outside area here last.
Stamina could be pushing in here, and he's going to get the bomb. I'm going to make a run for it with this bomb, but let's see if this site... That's the big thing, though, because this site push, where we've got 53 seconds left in the round, and nothing substantial has happened yet, which means that if Absolute Leverage can just hold on, just stop them from getting into sight, stop them from pushing and wiping out their team, especially with Okaz out here with the op, this is terrifying.
Aegis is going to be huge here. Aegis, this position looking into huts. Not only that, but the rest of Team Verum still sitting on, still sitting around more or less the squeaky area. This position's gonna be massive. Aegis does end up not going down. He ends up going down actually. Okay, so still Tactile with a 2K. Okaz getting back another one. Stamina now down to a 1-on-2. He's low on HP. Gonna be able to go back down. 15 seconds left. Has the bomb. Has a little bit of util. Has to get this bomb plant going. And not only that, but it's in an off angle. Okaz and Zach are both with full HP. And Zacher is already here. Stamina trying to run away. And he runs right into his crosshair. 13 to 15 scoreline. Team Verum has nothing to work with going into the next round. And when I expected that Aegis was going to be the one to really come out huge, it was Tactile in his, again, in his annoying mini position that this team of Verum wasn't able to clear out.
Remember how at the beginning of this round, I said that Tactile is a brick wall? I meant it. He just, they tried to push, and they just smashed their face into a brick wall. And usually in that situation, the brick wall is not the one that breaks. Tactile, of course,
usually
just showing up, showing out, and fragging out, getting so much for his team and securing the round. Of course, there were other plays. There was, of course, the retake after Stamina barely managed to get the bomb down, but still, that was Tactile's round.
Here we go again.
Going to take a lot of damage there.
It's a whole lot of damage actually trying to make their way through, but that's a... Again, that's just a classic squeaky push. Everyone from Absolute Leverage trying to make their way down. And even then, Stamina has the cross onto Aegis. Gonna be able to get him.
Bomb's down.
Team Verum, they've made their own space.
Yeah, bomb's going to go down. There are 4 players remaining versus the 3 of Absolute Leverage on this match point. This could be the final round that Team Verum needs to secure this. Tactile going to go down, but Okaz going to push back in and take out Jonesy. It's just up to Mirth and Stamina here on this site. Ajax going to push out in. Prex is going to go down, and so is Okaz. And that's going to be Team Verum securing the 16-3 victory over Absolute Leverage.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be a win here for Team Verum, but let's take a look at the wider look at things. Team Verum did not look good in that second half.
Not at all. No, they came dangerously close to losing that.
And 11-4.
Yeah.
Of all things. But I think that's just Nuke really talking, but... This is the same team that ended up taking 5 T-side rounds away from the Pain Gaming side, a team that historically actually has a really good Nuke side, so don't really know how to take this one in. I'll be completely honest. That first half was a really good, I guess you could say, indication on how things are really going out for the Team Verum squad, but still a lot of things to clean up.
Yeah, that's going to be the story of it. Like, if anyone's looking back at the game later on trying to figure out, hey, what went wrong? Well, we know exactly what went wrong. It was the T side from Team Verum. They were just struggling. And I hate to say it, but if their CT side, or I don't even hate to say it, their CT side carried them through that map. If they didn't have such a strong CT side, that 11-4 CT, they wouldn't have won that. That would have been in the bag for Absolute Leverage.
Yeah, and I think at this point we just got to look forward towards the future because they still have a big game coming up against Infinity. For those who don't know, Infinity was a team that was in MDL just a couple of seasons ago, but ever since, what has been kind of the break apart of their lineup, they've still been sticking around with their Latin American squad, mostly built up of Spamzy and Shooty. So if anything, that team should still be a big challenge for them. They're currently 5-1 and advanced, and with Team Verum finally getting themselves up with a little bit more positive of a record, a 4-2. Very much excited to see how that game goes down, because that is going to be a big indication on if their power ranking before the season actually comes true, and also if they really have the, I guess you could say, the flair to take down a team with the caliber of Infinity Esports. Because their game against Pain Gaming, we saw a very impressive scoreline, but it just so happened to be that the Pain Gaming game was what led into the 3-map streak. They've still been playing around with their lineup. They still have a huge future coming in forward with Stamina, so hopefully Stamina can be the glue for the squad. But otherwise, GG's. You really got to give it up to the squad of Absolute Leverage, though. I mean, this team does have a lot of I guess you could say hope
Potential
going forward, but a lot of potential, but still a lot to work on. And their nuke CT side kind of clean.
Their nuke CT side, fantastic. I would go beyond calling it clean. It was a work of art against Absolute Leverage, but again, that 4-9 scoreline on the T side, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to need some tuning up. We already mentioned it earlier. They've got to work on their map pool a little bit. Train, of course, being a bit of a weakness for them. But I definitely, like we said, I see a lot of potential in this Team Verum lineup to go very far in ESEA Advanced. They just have a couple small things that they need to tune up. But Stamina, definitely a big step forward in the right direction for Team Verum. And I'm very excited to see where they go from here. Upmind, I think that's going to do it for us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been real. Wanted to thank everyone for coming on down again to the Team Verum Twitch channel. I knew that we had a couple more viewers today, especially because of the fact that, of course, our boy Stamina making his debut. And, of course, we're going to be having him for a couple more games in the future. Looking at the stats, of course, we had actually 4 players for the boys of Team Verum getting themselves 20-plus frags. We had 91 ADR on Jonesy. Certainly very much a pivotal figure in both sides, but also a very quiet figure. Although we were talking about like players like Ajax and Stamina in the first half, especially Mills, Jonesy was very much consistently fragging. And Team Verum, folks, they still have a whole lot more action to go through in these next few weeks, and you guys don't want to miss it. It's been real.
Yep. If you want to follow Upmind on Twitter, you can do so at @upmind_. I know you definitely want to, because you're going to be able to catch news on whenever he's live with some of his fantastic commentary. If you want to check me out, you can do so at L4ST_V1. And I got nothing else to say. I'm very thankful that you all came out and checked out this amazing match. That's going to be it. Peace.
We outie. GG's. It's not the Steam overlay option. Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, you would have to go to audio and you have to scroll down a little bit. Yes. Yeah, did you change your config at all? Okay. Yeah, your config can kind of fuck up audio at times. It does that to me a lot because I have a couple of observer based configs. Yeah. Yeah, it's the easiest thing on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Valorant observing is way harder than CS observing. And if you can master CS, you could definitely master Valorant, but I think both are like you need a job for that. Like you need to get fucking racks to observe these games individually, not with auto director, but with like, you know, like actually manually observing, like those jobs right now in